Today I'm going to introduce a printmaking technique called waterless lithography. Traditional lithographic printing is very complicated. The plate requires constant wetting during the printing process, utilizing the hydrophobic nature of greasy substances to produce the image. Waterless lithography was invented in 1990 by Professor Nick Seminoff, a Canadian printmaker. His process involves the use of toner solution or water-based drawing materials and silicone caulk to create the printing plate. There is no need to wet the plate during the inking process, making it simple and easy to handle. It became quite popular among lithography printmakers. It's very important to properly sand the plate prior to the drawing process. And we have to make sure the plate is free of grease. Sanding the plate creates a texture that promotes better adhesion of the drawing materials. We usually adopt a vertical, horizontal, and diagonal sanding pattern. Sand vertically, then horizontally. Repeat this process one more time. Now we can sand in the diagonal directions. When the plate is evenly sanded and you're satisfied with the results, you can go ahead to degrease the plate. Rinse the plate briefly under the tap. Then pour some detergent on it. Clean the plate with a wet sponge using a circular motion. It's pretty much like washing the dishes. If there's a uniform film of water formed on the plate, and there is no sign of water-repelling spots, the plate should be clean enough. Use a squeegee to scrape off the water. You can draw on the plate once it's completely dry. I'm going to show you the drawing materials for waterless lithography. The most important material is toner solution. It's a mixture of photocopier toner, water, and a small amount of liquid soap. This drawing fluid is very similar to the liquid tush used in traditional lithography. The next one is a water-soluble pencil. The preferred one is Lumu Color 108-9, manufactured by Staedtler. Other drawing tools include ink brushes in various sizes, ballpoint pen which produces very fine and consistent lines. Next comes the water-soluble ink, for example Chinese ink, and Fude brush pen. Oil-based markers can also be used for producing strokes. Let's start to draw on the plate. Aluminum plate must be used for the waterless lithography process. Instead of buying brand new plates, we can use discarded offset printing plates. They can be used once properly sanded. In order to stabilize the image after the drawing is finished, a thin layer of silicone caulking is applied to the plate surface. The aluminum will chemically react with silicone, fixing the image on the plate. I'm now going to draw on the plate with various materials. Let's try out other materials. First of all, the water-soluble pencil. Now the ballpoint pen. It can produce very fine lines. Let's try out the Pentel ink brush. Now the drawing is done. We need to heat up the parts with toner solution. The image will get wiped off if the toner solution is not heat fixed. Use a heat gun that has a power rating between 1200 to 1500 watt. The toner solution will be fixed firmly to the plate. Use the heat gun to fix the toner. Try to keep the nozzle roughly 1 inch above the plate, and refrain from shaking the heat gun vigorously, as we need a focused heat source. Move the heat gun slowly to apply consistent heat. The parts with toner solution will turn dull once the targeted temperature is reached. Let it cool down for a while, then gently touch the parts with toner solution. The toner should look dull and it should not come off. We can move on to the next step once the plate is completely cooled down. This step is called plate making. Plate making is the process that fixes the image onto the plate permanently. As I mentioned before, the plate is made of aluminum. It will chemically react with silicone. The reaction between the two materials will form a thin layer of film that bonds tightly to the plate. We can move on to the printing step after the drawing materials are completely wiped off. First of all, squeeze out some silicone caulking from the tube. Because we're working with a relatively small plate, only a small amount is needed. Approximately 1 to 2 inches into the container would be enough. Then add some odorless thinner. Use a pipette to transfer the odorless thinner to the container. Adding a small amount at a time helps reduce wastage. Mix the odorless thinner and silicone thoroughly. The silicone will be diluted by the odorless thinner. Keep mixing until the consistency resembles maple syrup, which should be less viscous than honey. The solution is quite volatile. We have to keep mixing. The solution is still too thick for now. It doesn't drip easily. Keep mixing for a while, then add a little bit more odorless thinner into the mixture. Don't add too much odorless thinner, as it would make the solution too diluted and even more volatile, causing it to dry up too quickly. Add a small amount at a time. It's important to make sure the two substances are thoroughly blended together, and try to eliminate any lumps. If you can still see small lumps in the mixture, keep mixing until the texture is smooth. The solution is approaching the right consistency. As you can see, it is becoming a lot more runny. It's flowing down from the spatula easily. Add a tiny amount of odorless thinner to further thin it down. Then we can apply it onto the plate. This is the ideal consistency, ready to be applied. Prepare some small pieces of sponge for applying the solution onto the plate, and then use some tissue paper to wrap a bigger piece of sponge about the size of your palm. Put it aside for now. Pour some silicone solution onto the plate. Note that the image areas should be the priority. Try your best to spread out the solution thinly and coat the plate evenly. The silicone is now reacting with the aluminum. Pay extra attention to coat the image areas thinly and evenly with the silicone. Use the big sponge wrapped with tissue paper to remove excess silicone and further even out the film. This is now very even. It is better to wait overnight before printing, as the film becomes more stable the longer time it is given to set. But if you're in a hurry, a heat gun can be used to speed up the drying time. Inking tools and materials. Use a brayer to spread out the ink thinly and evenly. The ink should be much thinner compared to inking up wood blocks. The sound produced by the rolling brayer should be quite soft. This procedure is for removing the drawing materials on the plate. We will mainly use pure acetone to remove the drawing materials. Pour a small amount of acetone on some tissue paper. The acetone should not be poured directly onto the image. Test out a small area first. You can see that some toner has been removed from the plate. Areas with thick toner layers are harder to remove. Areas with thinner layers would come off much easier. Be careful not to apply too much pressure, as it may damage the silicone film. Use very light pressure and rub gently. Leave the stubborn areas for now. We will get back to them later. Lines and strokes made with Chinese ink or Fude pen can't be removed with acetone. But it's possible to remove the markings with warm water. Sometimes regular water works just fine. Notice that the areas outside the images are coated with silicone, while the areas with fainted images are not silicone covered. Because the drawing materials were removed in the previous process, ink can be adhered to these areas. The plate is now ready for inking. We're about to ink the plate and get the images printed. Apply some ink on the platform and start rolling out the ink evenly and thinly with a brayer. Transfer the ink onto the plate in multiple passes, adding thin and even layers in different directions. The plate is ready for printing once the ink layers are even and the intensity is matching the original drawing. Use the brayer to push the excess ink outside the plate. It's now ready for print proving. Place the plate, print-making paper, newsprint, thick mat board, and press blanket on the press bed. Pull the printing press with appropriate pressure. Image on the plate is transferred to the print-making paper by the printing press.